The massive screen in NASA's control room displayed what appeared to be empty space near Jupiter's orbit. Most people would see nothing unusual, but Dr. James Miller kept pointing at seemingly random spots, his eyes bright with excitement. His team of scientists gathered around him, their faces showing a mix of confusion and curiosity. "Look at these readings," he said, tapping his tablet. "The gravitational sensors are picking up something that shouldn't be there." The room fell silent as data streams scrolled across their screens, showing unusual patterns in what should have been empty space. Dr. Miller wasn't known for wild theories. At 45 years old, with 20 years of experience in space observation, he had built his reputation on solid, provable science. His slightly messy gray hair and wrinkled lab coat gave him the appearance of a typical absent-minded professor, but his mind was sharp as ever. "We've been looking at this all wrong," he continued, pulling up more data. "For the past 6 months, these anomalies have appeared and disappeared. At first, we thought they were equipment errors." He paused, allowing the information to sink in. "But they're not random. They follow patterns." Tom White, his assistant, raised his hand. "But sir, we've checked with every known detection method. There's nothing visible there. No radio signals, no heat signatures." "Exactly." Dr. Miller smiled. "We've been looking for what we expect to find. But what if we combine all our detection methods at once? What if we look for what isn't there, rather than what is?" The team worked through the night, programming their quantum sensors to work alongside traditional observation equipment. They created new algorithms to detect patterns in the seemingly random noise that their instruments usually filtered out. As the sun rose over the Houston horizon, their efforts paid off. "There," Dr. Miller pointed at the new composite data. "These aren't random anomalies. They're moving in precise patterns. Look at the regularity. It's artificial." The evidence was clear. Something was moving through space near Jupiter, something that bent light and gravity in ways that shouldn't be possible. Whatever it was, it had been carefully designed to avoid detection by normal means. Only by looking at the gaps, the places where space itself seemed to hiccup, could they see the truth. Dr. Miller's hands shook as he prepared his report. This wasn't just a discovery. It was proof that someone else was out there. Someone with technology advanced enough to hide from conventional detection methods. His team had stumbled upon something that would change humanity's understanding of the universe. "Send the data to other observatories," he ordered. "We need confirmation from multiple sources." Within hours, observatories around the world began reporting the same findings. Whatever they had found, it was real. News of the discovery spread quickly through the scientific community. Some called it impossible. Others claimed it was a natural phenomenon they didn't yet understand. But as more data came in, one thing became clear. These anomalies were moving with purpose. 1 week after the initial discovery, Dr. Miller stood before a panel of international scientists. His presentation was simple but convincing. "We're not alone," he concluded, "and whoever's out there, they've figured out how to move through space while remaining almost completely undetectable. Almost." As he finished speaking, new data flashed across the screen. The patterns were changing. Whatever they had discovered seemed to be reacting to being observed. The invisible visitors were aware they had been spotted. In his hotel room that night, Dr. Miller looked up at the stars through his window. Somewhere up there, something was watching. Tomorrow, he would begin the process of establishing a way to communicate with these hidden observers. But for now, he allowed himself a moment to appreciate the magnitude of what his team had accomplished. Humanity had just proven they could see the unseeable. And unknown to them, this discovery would soon shake the foundations of galactic society. 2 months after Dr. Miller's discovery, the world changed forever. It wasn't the invisible anomalies that changed it. It was the massive ship that appeared in orbit around Earth without warning. The vessel was beautiful, all sleek lines and shimmering metals that seemed to change color in the sunlight. The United Nations Assembly Hall was packed. Representatives from every nation gathered to meet the aliens who called themselves the Galactic Council. Ambassador Gray of the Centaurians stood at the podium, his tall, slender form draped in flowing robes that sparkled like starlight. Despite his alien appearance, his translator device made his words clear and precise. "We welcome Earth to the galactic community," he said, his large eyes scanning the crowd. "Your species has achieved the necessary technological advancement for first contact. We look forward to sharing knowledge and culture." In the front row, Dr. Miller shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Next to him sat the UN Secretary General and several world leaders. They had asked him to attend because of his recent discovery, but he hadn't expected to speak. That changed when Ambassador Gray began discussing Earth's current technological level. "Your space exploration is primitive but promising," the ambassador continued. "With our guidance, you will." "Excuse me," Dr. Miller interrupted, standing up. The Secretary General tried to pull him back down, but he stepped forward anyway. "What can you tell us about the anomalies we detected near Jupiter?" The ambassador's smooth movements stopped. His large eyes blinked rapidly. "What anomalies?" Dr. Miller walked to the podium, tablet in hand. His heart was pounding, but years of giving scientific presentations helped him stay calm. "2 months ago, we detected something unusual." He connected his tablet to the display system, and the data appeared on the massive screen behind them. "These patterns show something moving through space, something that bends light and gravity in ways we can't explain. It's clearly artificial, but it's almost completely undetectable by normal means." The room fell silent. Ambassador Gray stared at the data, his color changing slightly, a reaction no one yet understood how to interpret. More council members approached the podium, their own devices scanning the information. "This is impossible," one of them said. "Our sensors detect nothing unusual in your system." "That's because you're looking for what you expect to find," Dr. Miller explained, echoing his words from 2 months ago. "We combined multiple detection methods and looked for the gaps, the places where space itself doesn't behave quite right." The council members spoke rapidly in their own languages, their translation devices struggling to keep up. Ambassador Gray turned to face the human audience, his composure slightly shaken. "In 10,000 years of space exploration, we have never. This is." He paused, gathering himself. "There have been unexplained events, readings we dismissed as natural phenomena. But this." Dr. Miller pressed his advantage. "You've seen similar things before, haven't you? But your advanced sensors, programmed to filter out background noise, missed what our more primitive equipment detected. Sometimes being less advanced has its advantages. We had to get creative." The council members huddled together, discussing rapidly. When Ambassador Gray spoke again, his tone had changed. Gone was the slightly condescending attitude toward Earth's primitive technology. "Dr. Miller," he said, "would you be willing to share your detection methods with our scientists? This discovery, it changes everything we thought we knew about space." As Dr. Miller agreed, he noticed something on his tablet. The anomalies near Jupiter were moving. They were heading toward Earth, toward this very meeting. Whatever they were, they knew they had been spotted, and they were coming to see who had finally noticed them. The first contact with the Galactic Council was about to become much more interesting. Humanity had not only joined the galactic community, they had already proven they could see things that the older, more advanced civilizations had missed for millennia. The emergency meeting of the Galactic Council took place aboard their massive ship in Earth's orbit. Dr. Miller sat at a large round table, surrounded by representatives from 30 different alien species. The room hummed with advanced technology, yet all attention was focused on his simple tablet display. "Show us again," Ambassador Gray said, his color shifting to a deep blue that humans were beginning to recognize as intense interest. "How did you first notice these patterns?" Dr. Miller played the recording from Jupiter's orbit. "At first, we thought our equipment was malfunctioning. But look here." He pointed to seemingly empty space where gravity waves bent in impossible ways. "Natural phenomena don't move like this. These are deliberate movements." An elder council member named Brightstone, who looked like a collection of crystalline shapes, moved forward. "We have records," they said, their voice chiming like bells through the translator. "Going back thousands of years." Similar readings appeared across different systems, but our automated systems classified them as background noise. The room's holographic display came to life, showing hundreds of similar anomalies recorded across the galaxy. Each one had been neatly labeled and filed away as an unexplained but natural occurrence. "Your sensors are too good," Dr. Miller explained, standing up to walk around the table. "They automatically filter out what they consider interference. Our equipment is simpler. We have to look at everything and figure out what's important ourselves." Ambassador Gray's color shifted again. "We've become too dependent on our technology. We let our machines think for us, filter for us, decide what's worth investigating." "Exactly," Dr. Miller agreed. "Sometimes you need to step back and look at the big picture." We combined old and new methods. Gravity sensors, light detection, radiation readings. Each one showed nothing unusual on its own. But when we looked at them together, he pressed a button on his tablet. The holographic display changed, combining all the Council's background noise readings into a single image. Patterns emerged, networks of movement, places where space itself seemed to ripple. "They're everywhere," Brightstone whispered, their crystalline form vibrating with emotion. "All this time, another civilization has been moving through our space, watching us, and we never knew." The Council erupted in discussion. Some members argued for immediate military action. Others wanted to pretend they hadn't seen anything. A few demanded to know why Earth's primitive technology could see what their advanced sensors missed. "Wait," Dr. Miller called out over the noise. "Look at this." He pointed to new readings appearing on the display. The anomalies were changing. The patterns were becoming more regular, more obvious. "They're not hiding anymore. They're letting us see them." Ambassador Gray moved closer to the display. "Why now? Why reveal themselves after staying hidden for so long?" "Maybe," Dr. Miller suggested, "they were waiting for someone to notice them naturally. Think about it. If they can hide this well, they could probably force us to see them if they wanted to. Instead, they waited until someone figured it out on their own." The room fell silent as everyone considered this. Finally, Brightstone spoke again. "It makes sense. A test, perhaps. Waiting for a civilization that could think differently enough to see what was right in front of them. And humanity passed this test," Ambassador Gray added, his color now a bright, excited purple. "Not because of advanced technology, but because you weren't bound by our assumptions. You looked at the problem with fresh eyes." New alerts flashed across the displays. The anomalies were moving again, forming complex patterns around Earth's orbit. They were no longer trying to hide. They were trying to communicate. Dr. Miller looked around the room at the assembled council members. "I think," he said slowly, "we're about to meet some new friends, and we have a lot to learn from each other." The invisible truth was finally coming to light, and humanity's place in the galaxy was about to change forever. The patterns in space around Earth grew stronger. Dr. Miller and the council members watched in amazement as the emptiness began to take shape. It was like watching water droplets form in reverse. Instead of coming together, space itself seemed to pull apart, creating a window into something that existed between the normal flows of space-time. Through this strange opening, they saw them for the first time. The Shrouded Ones. Their ships were unlike anything humans or the Council had ever seen. They seemed to be made of shifting darkness and light, flowing like liquid metal but transparent enough to see the stars through them. The beings themselves appeared as tall, graceful forms that moved like smoke but thought like gods. "We have waited long," their first message came, transmitted directly into the ship's communication systems. "Finally, a young race has seen us without aid." Dr. Miller stepped forward, his scientific curiosity overcoming his fear. "You've been watching us. All of us." "For millennia," the response came. "We evolved differently than you. Our ancestors found ways to exist slightly out of phase with normal spacetime. It was not a choice made for stealth, but for survival on our dying world. Ambassador Gray's color shifted to a deep green of wonder. Your entire civilization exists in this state, between spaces. Yes, what you see now is us reaching across the barrier, making ourselves visible to your level of existence. It takes great effort. The council chamber was filled with a mix of fear and fascination. These beings had watched the rise and fall of countless civilizations. They had observed the council's formation, humanity's first steps into space, and everything in between. Dr. Miller studied the readings on his tablet. The patterns we detected, they were your normal movements through space, your daily lives. Correct. The Shrouded One's ship moved closer, its strange form making the stars behind it bend and twist. Your detection method was unique. Most races rely on their technology to tell them what is real. You questioned what you couldn't see. Bright stones stepped forward, their crystalline form reflecting the strange light from the visitor's ship. Why reveal yourselves now? Why not stay hidden? Because isolation leads to stagnation, came the reply. We have watched, learned, and grown lonely. We needed to know that other races could evolve beyond their technological dependencies. Humanity proved this was possible. Dr. Miller's tablet suddenly lit up with new data. The Shrouded Ones were transmitting information. Star charts, scientific formulas, and historical records, all written in their strange, flowing language. This is a gift, they explained. Knowledge we have gathered through observation. But more importantly, it is an invitation. We wish to join your community, but as equals, not as superior beings. Ambassador Gray turned to Dr. Miller. Your discovery did more than find them. It proved to them that younger races can still think independently, still see what others miss. The Shrouded One's ship pulsed with soft light. We offer an exchange. We will teach you about the spaces between spaces, the ways of seeing what others miss. In return, we ask for connection, for an end to our solitude. The council members looked at each other, then at Dr. Miller. Humanity's representative had become more than just a scientist who made a lucky discovery. He had become a bridge between three very different forms of life. We accept, Dr. Miller said, speaking for both humanity and the council. There's so much we can learn from each other. The Shrouded One's ship shimmered, and for a brief moment, everyone in the room could see them clearly, beings of pure energy and thought, as ancient as the stars themselves. They had found what they were looking for, a civilization that could see beyond the obvious, that could think in new ways. The age of isolation was ending. A new chapter in galactic history was about to begin, all because humans had learned to look for what wasn't there. The council's main chamber was in chaos. A week after the Shrouded Ones revealed themselves, representatives from hundreds of worlds argued about what this meant for galactic society. The massive room, usually a model of order and civilization, had turned into something closer to a shouting match. They could be anywhere, shouted the representative from the Proxima worlds, his scaled skin flashing warning colors. How do we know they're not in this room right now watching us? Dr. Miller sat quietly, watching the drama unfold. Next to him, Ambassador Gray maintained his composed appearance, though his color had shifted to a worried yellow. The discovery of the Shrouded Ones had shaken the Council's confidence more than anyone expected. Order, called Bright Stone, their crystalline form glowing brightly to get everyone's attention. We must approach this situation with logic, not fear. A smaller alien, covered in soft fur, jumped onto the speaking platform. Logic? Earth wasn't even supposed to be here yet. They're centuries behind us in technology, but they saw what we missed. How can we trust our own security systems now? That sparked another round of shouting. Some council members demanded immediate access to Earth's detection methods. Others wanted to create new laws about existing in normal space. A few even suggested declaring war on the Shrouded Ones, though no one quite knew how to fight an enemy that existed between spaces. Dr. Miller finally stood up. If I may speak. The room gradually fell silent. Despite being from a primitive world, his role in the discovery had earned him respect. The shrouded ones could have remained hidden, he said, his voice calm but firm. They chose to reveal themselves after we detected them. They're sharing knowledge, not threatening us. Maybe we should focus on what we can learn from them instead of fighting about what we missed. Ambassador Gray's color brightened slightly. Dr. Miller is right. Earth's contribution wasn't just finding the shrouded ones. It was showing us that our way isn't the only way to advance. That's the problem. The Proxima representative shot back. We're the advanced civilizations. We should have seen them first. Instead, we look foolish. No, Brightstone chimed in. We look like what we are, beings capable of learning and growing. The shrouded ones chose this moment to appear because they saw that quality in humanity. Perhaps we should demonstrate it too. The argument shifted. More council members began speaking in favor of working with both Earth and the shrouded ones. The fear of the unknown was strong, but curiosity and the desire for new knowledge was stronger. A holographic message appeared in the center of the room, the flowing, smoke-like writing of the shrouded ones. We observe your debate, it read. Your fear is natural. Your desire to learn is wise. We offer patience. Dr. Miller smiled. The message was perfectly timed. They understand our concerns, he said. They've watched civilizations grow for thousands of years. They know this isn't easy for us. The council members began to calm down. Ambassador Gray stepped forward, his color now a confident blue. I propose we create a new division within the council, one dedicated to combining Earth's creative problem-solving with our advanced technology and the shrouded one's knowledge. The vote was quick and nearly unanimous. Earth would lead this new division, working as a bridge between the visible and invisible parts of the galaxy. Their primitive status had become their greatest strength. They weren't bound by centuries of doing things the same way. As the meeting ended, Dr. Miller received messages from dozens of worlds requesting to send scientists to Earth. They wanted to learn how to think differently, to see what they had missed. The diplomatic crisis wasn't over, but it was turning into something unexpected. A renaissance of new ideas and new ways of thinking. Sometimes it took a shock to make people realize that progress wasn't just about building better machines. It was about learning to see the world in new ways. In the months following the Council's decision, Earth's largest research facility had become an unusual sight. Scientists from 30 different species worked alongside humans, their various forms and sizes creating an almost circus-like atmosphere. But the most interesting sight was what they couldn't see. The empty spaces where they knew the shrouded ones were working with them. Dr. Miller stood in the center of the main lab, surrounded by holographic displays and strange equipment from a dozen worlds. His team had grown from a handful of Earth scientists to hundreds of beings from across the galaxy. Their goal was simple but challenging. Find a way to communicate directly with the shrouded ones without them having to strain themselves to appear in normal space. The problem isn't technology, he explained to a group of new arrivals. It's perspective. We need to think between spaces, not just about them. A young council scientist named Lightweaver adjusted some crystal-based equipment. Like many of her kind, she looked like a collection of geometric shapes that caught and bent light. But how do we reach into a space we can't truly understand? Dr. Miller smiled. The same way we detected them in the first place. We look for what isn't there, not what is. The team had been working on a device that combined council technology with Earth's unusual detection methods. It looked like a mess of parts to most observers, quantum sensors next to old radio equipment, crystal computers connected to simple Earth tablets. But there was a method to the madness. Ready for another test? Dr. Miller asked. The room hummed with anticipation. He activated the device. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then the air began to shimmer, not like the shrouded ones appearing, but like a window opening into somewhere else. Through it, they could see strange patterns and shapes that hurt their eyes if they looked too long. Hello, Dr. Miller said into the gap between spaces. Can you hear us? The response came not as words or images, but as pure thought, clear and strong. "We hear you. You have found a way to reach across." The lab erupted in excitement. Months of work had finally paid off. They weren't just detecting the shrouded ones anymore. They were reaching into their space, communicating with them in their natural state. "The bridge goes both ways," the thoughts continued. "We can now speak without straining to exist in your space. You have done what we hoped. Found a way to connect our worlds without changing either." Lightweaver's crystals sparkled with joy. "It's beautiful," she said. "We can learn so much from each other now." More shrouded ones gathered in the space beyond the window. Their thoughts came through clearly. "We have watched for so long. Now we can share. Now we can grow together." Dr. Miller looked around the lab at the gathered scientists, humans, council members, and now shrouded ones, all working together. "This is just the beginning," he said. "Think of what we can learn from each other. The shrouded ones have seen things we never imagined, and we can help them experience our world in new ways." The bridge they had built was more than just a communication device. It was proof that different kinds of life, different ways of thinking, different ways of existing, they could all work together. The gap between spaces wasn't a barrier anymore. It was a doorway. "What's the next step?" Lightweaver asked, her crystal form glowing with curiosity. Dr. Miller looked through the window between worlds. "Now we learn from each other. The shrouded ones have knowledge from countless years of watching. We have new ways of thinking about old problems. The Council has technology beyond our dreams. Together, we can do amazing things." The bridge hummed softly, connecting three very different civilizations. It wasn't perfect yet. They had a lot to learn about communicating across the gap between spaces. But it was a start, and sometimes starts were the most important part of any journey. The Grand Assembly Hall on Earth was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Built specifically for this historic moment, its transparent dome showed the stars above, while its walls could shift between normal space and the shadowy realm of the shrouded ones. Representatives from all three civilizations gathered for the first official tricultural summit. Dr. Miller stood at the central podium, looking out at the strangest audience in human history. Council members of all shapes and sizes filled one section, their various forms creating a living rainbow of colors and textures. In another section, the space itself rippled and moved as the shrouded ones existed in their natural state, visible through the special walls. Between them sat humans, looking plain by comparison, but standing proud. "1 year ago," Dr. Miller began, "we thought we were alone in the universe. Then we met the Council, and minutes later, proved we could see what they had missed for millennia. Today, we take the next step together." Ambassador Gray stepped forward, his color a bright, confident blue. "The Council admits we grew too confident, too set in our ways. Earth showed us that being technologically advanced doesn't always mean being right. Sometimes, fresh eyes see clearer than experienced ones." The shrouded one's thoughts rippled through the hall, translated by the new bridge technology. "And we learned that watching life is not the same as living it. We have seen much, but until now, we never truly participated. Isolation brought wisdom, but also loneliness." Dr. Miller smiled as he looked at the data pad in his hand. The first joint projects were already showing amazing results. Council technology, combined with Earth's creative problem-solving and the shrouded one's unique perspective, had solved problems that had puzzled scientists for centuries. "We're announcing today the formation of the Three Horizons Initiative," he continued. "Each of our civilizations will contribute what they do best. The Council brings their advanced technology and centuries of experience. Earth brings our unique way of looking at problems and willingness to try new approaches. The shrouded ones bring their vast knowledge and ability to see between spaces." The assembly hall hummed with excitement. On the massive screens above, images showed the first projects. New ships that could travel through normal space and shadow space, medical breakthroughs that combined all three civilizations' understanding of life, and exploration missions that would see farther than any single civilization could manage alone. But more important than any technical achievement, Dr. Miller said, is what we've learned about ourselves. The Council learned that progress doesn't always move in a straight line. Humans learned that being less advanced technologically doesn't mean being less capable. And the Shrouded Ones learned that watching life isn't as rewarding as participating in it. The hall erupted in cheers, applause, and the strange, beautiful sounds of many species celebrating together. Even the Shrouded Ones joined in, their joy visible as waves of light rippling through their section of the hall. Ambassador Gray's color shifted to a bright, happy purple. This is more than an alliance. This is evolution, not of our bodies, but of our ways of thinking. Together, we are more than we could ever be alone. As the celebration continued, Dr. Miller looked out at the gathering. A year ago, he had been excited about detecting strange patterns near Jupiter. Now he was watching 3 vastly different civilizations come together, each learning from the others, each growing in new ways. The Shrouded Ones shared one final thought that echoed through the hall. For millennia, we watched and waited, hoping to find others who could see beyond the obvious. Humanity proved that wisdom comes in many forms. The future belongs to those who can see all perspectives, not just their own. As the Earth's sun set outside the dome, its light passing through the transparent ceiling created a rainbow that seemed to connect all 3 sections of the hall. It was a new dawn for all 3 civilizations, and the horizon was brighter than ever.